Good morning and welcome to MD3 Lacrosse. I am Ronnie Davis, and today we are talking about Section 5 lacrosse, ROC Stars. The ROC Stars in Section 5, and there's plenty of them. And we're going to start going class by class and start talking about the teams. Usually I do this podcast starting at the beginning of the season, but due to my Boston College attention, I had to, go with the NCAAs, but now I'm here back to do the other Section 5 teams in the separate classes. So let's start with Fairport. Fairport is having a decent season, coached by Mara Karp. They got some wins, they got some losses, but most notably, Fairport is in Class A, but they lost to Pittsford, which is in Class B now. I should mention that Donovan Lopez and the Pittsburgh group have moved to Class B, but I was very surprised to see Pittsburgh beat Fairport. Fairport is two-time Section 5 champion. 2 years ago, they won a state championship, and I was led by Ava Pierce and Lily Condis, Ella Pierce, excuse me. Ella Pierce, the lefty attacker, going to Syracuse next year, and Lily Condis is back now from her knee injury. But they got Brenna Goss and some other players, Cameron DeBose, who's committed to Albany. They got some really, really good lacrosse players out there, but I was surprised that they fell to Pittsford, but they did. Pittsford, obviously, always very well coached by Coach Lopez, plays a tough zone defense. We'll see if Fairport, they did come back and beat Irondequoit. They did come back and beat Penn Yan. So they're on a 2-game winning streak right now. Mara Karp getting them ready. They got Schrader, Spencerport left, Orchard Park left, Canandaigua left, Rush Henrietta left. But the big one is at the end of the year when they play Victor. That is going to be on May 21st. So we're looking forward to Fairport finishing their season out and seeing where they fall. Also in Class A, Penfield seems to be the team to beat. They fell last year to Pittsford in the Section 5 semifinals, but they had they started their season out with a loss to CNS out of Section 3, and coached by Coach Dave York. Assistant Nikki Frenzy, who's a state championship coach herself. That she led the Victor Blue Devils to a state championship 3 years ago. So they're well coached, and they're playing very well. Their team is led by Peyton Rothfuss, and I will say Peyton Rothfuss going to the University of Florida, and Kara's Hand in the goal is doing exceptional, but Peyton Rothfuss is outstanding, and I think that she pretty much carries the whole entire team. I know they say that one person doesn't make a team, but in this case, I think that she controls the midfield on the draws. She plays great defense, and she scores a lot of goals. So I think that Penfield is right now, like I said, the tops in Class A. They've already beaten Fairport handily by 10 goals. They had a loss to, like, CNS is Section 3. They also lost to Sayville of Long Island. But they hammered Irondequoit. They beat Pittsford 9-3. Handed Canandaigua, a 12-4 loss, and then the game that I watched was Rush Henrietta, a little closer in the score than what it really was. Penfield got out to a big lead. They ended up beating them 15-9, but my thoughts on that is that Penfield won the first 8 draws. I think they scored the first 8 goals. So, and then, like I said, thanks to Peyton Rothfuss, I think she's really leading that team. Defensively, as I said, in the goal, they got Kara's Hand. Allie Hanlon is anchoring that defense as well. But I think that Peyton Rothfuss, it's the Peyton Rothfuss show over there for sure. And I think that puts them, with that being said, that puts them in a great position to be successful this year. Going down to Rush Henrietta, young team led by junior Kate DeWald, of course. But they took a tough one in the beginning of the season to West Genesee. They lost 12-10. They went on a 3-game winning streak. They ended up losing to Brighton, and 2-game winning streak, then losing to Brighton 12-10. We'll get to Brighton in a little bit. Then they go on a 2-game winning streak, or 3-game, and then they lose to Penfield. So they picked it back up. They beat Queensberry this past few days. So they got Pittsford coming up this week, and then Canandaigua, and then Spencerport, Fairport. And then Victor and Mercy. So they got a tough schedule going forward. But I put them at number 3, with Penfield being 1, Pittsford being 2, Rush Henrietta 3 in Class A. I think Rush Henrietta can make its way back. Emma DeWald, a younger player. She's a 27, and they got some good parts to their puzzle. I think they just need to put them together, and once they do, I think they're gonna be in for a good second half of the season. Grease Storm also in Class A, not real competitive with the other 3, the big 3, I'll call them. But they're fighting. They're 3-5 this year, and they're fighting out there. I think that Grease could be a little bit better if they worked on their youth a little bit more. There's a lot of kids in Greece that could play lacrosse. So, jumping down to Class B, Brighton, coached by Wayne Smith. Longtime coach Rich Curtis. I made the prediction a long time ago on the ROC Stars Girls Lacrosse podcast that he would retire the minute a shot clock was implemented, and my prediction has come to the truth. Wayne Smith is the new coach there this year. Rich Curtis is now the JV coach over in Victor. And I think Wayne Smith was the right person for the job, to take over for Curtis. Brighton is 4-5. They've been in every single game. They're competing, which to me, I think is important at this part of the season. Jumping down to Canandaigua. Canandaigua's 5-5. Canandaigua has a new coach, Alyssa Zacharias. Alyssa was the coach at Canandaigua about 6 years ago, and she took some time off, and this year she's taken over for John Harriman, who's also moved over to Victor as a JV coach at Victor. Alyssa's 5-5 this year. She's got some players that can make her competitive. Starting in the goal, you got Avi Nelson, who had an unbelievable game the other night against Mercy in a loss, and defensively, Maddie Pasalacqua is back there with Isla Hubler. Pasalacqua going to Coastal Carolina, committed to go to Coastal Carolina, and I think she's doing a great job defensively. She matched up with Sydney Cook the other night against Mercy, and I thought she did a great job against Sid Cook, who's going to BU, and so defensively, I think they're holding their own. Midfield wise, Leah Sheridan is their leading scorer. She's taking draws. She's going playing offense, playing defense. Arguably, Leah's the Canandaigua's best player. And she's definitely showing it. She's she's showing her heart and her hustle. She's out there playing hard, scoring goals, and playing both ends of the field. Also at the midfield, it looks like Taylor Chin, who is actually a 2029, which is a 8th grader. And Taylor scored a goal or two the other night. I thought she looked great out there. She's super athletic, and she's going to be a great player going up. Kira Giuseppe, on the attack, I thought did a great job the other night. She scored a couple goals. She even scored a goal with her left hand, which I love to see. Even though she put it stick side high, I will have a chat with her about that. But I thought Kira is, as a freshman, is doing very well there, along with, on the attack, you got Lola Shore on the other side, number 3, the lefty feeder. Lola's having a good season so far. But I think the best attacker on the field is Nola Weaver, going to Old Dominion, 2020. She's a senior. And I think that Nola, in my opinion, Nola needs the ball a little more. I think against Mercy, she didn't have a ton of touches. And I think that if Canandaigua can get her the ball, they're going to be much more competitive. jumping down, a little bit, I want to jump on Gates Chile a little bit. My buddy Kelly Parker, he did get a win so far this year, which I'm very proud of him for. He's going out there. He's fighting an uphill battle. He's got kids that don't play lacrosse year round, and that's tough to coach when kids just show up on the first day of practice and put their sticks down and after the season's over. But he did get a win this year against. It looks like Brockport. They won 9-7, which I'm really happy for him. Finally got another win under his belt. And he always makes the comment, he's competitive in every game until his team gets off the bus. And I think that's a testament to Kelly's positive nature, the sarcasm that's always positive and funny. But he works really hard, and he deserves a lot of credit over there at Gates Chile. Jump over to Irondequoit here. They're 4-5. Irondequoit's goalie, Emma Lynn Francis, going to Ohio State. She is their backbone. She is their stopper. She is their whole world. So I think when you have a great goalie back there, you can definitely be competitive. And right now they're 4-5, and they're fighting their way up. They've had some competitive games, which as I said, you have a great goalie, you can be competitive. They ended up losing to Penn Yan, which I thought was a great win for Penn Yan, and but they turned around and they did beat Canandaigua by 2 goals. They took a beating from Penfield. Mercy ended up beating them. They beat Colony out of Albany area, and other than that, they got a big season coming up. They play this week. They play Brighton this week, and Mike Butler's he's a good coach. He's a longtime coach there. He will get around and quite ready to play. Mercy, Mercy, 7-1, coached by Tim Parinello. Mercy looks good the majority of the time. They took a heck of a beating from Victor on Saturday. I'm not going to make excuses for Mercy, even though they did play Canandaigua Friday night and won that game by a 2-goal margin. Mercy has all the parts, all the pieces to the puzzle to win Section 5 Class B. I'm going to say, they're led by Mia Quadrello on attack. She's going to Arizona State. She's a junior. Mia Lasardi is, to me, one of the top midfielders in the county. She's heading to Louisville. Sid Cook, lefty attacker, heading to BU. In goal, they got Ellie Meyer, who is getting better every single day. Defensively, Marina Reddington, who I think is one of the best defenders in Section 5. I don't think she had a great game against Victor, but I think that Tim's going to regroup with her in that defense. Angela Gershner's on that defense, who's playing outstanding. She's going to be going to St. Bonaventure. So there's a lot of kids that are committed to a lot of good places. And if Timmy can put that, put the pieces together, which I think he can, they're going to be a contender at the end of the year. Pittsford, Coach Lopez, you can never count Pittsford out. He's got a great defensive mind. He runs a great defense. That is the bread and butter of Pittsford lacrosse, is their defense. Caroline Oliark is their goalie. She's playing well this year. They're 7-2, which as I said, you got to be, they've won the games that they should have, and they lost the games that that probably weren't going to win anyhow, right? But they did, they ended up losing to Victor 11-5. We'll get to Victor in a minute, but they beat Fairport, which was huge. They lost to Penfield, which was expected, only 9-3 though. But they beat Baldwinsville out of Section 3. They beat Bethlehem out of Albany area. They beat Canandaigua 8-5, and they beat Spencerport already, Spencerport's, got a good little team. So they got Rush Henrietta this week, then they got Brighton. Excuse me, then FM out of Section 3. They still got Irondequoit left to play. So I believe that Pittsford's got, obviously we have a long season ahead of us, but I think Coach Lopez will get them dialed in. talk about a couple of their players defensively. I think, they got Anna Anderson back there on defense, Maddie Welch back there on defense. At the midfield, Kira Tammany, who's only a freshman. Sid Burrell on attack, Cecily Call on attack. They got players, and they got offensive players. They just got to, rely on those kids a little more. I think Cecily needs to really step up. She's going to be going to Cornell, and start scoring some goals. And I think you're going to see Pittsford have a good run for the rest of their season. Spencerport, coached by Tara Pittman. They're 5-3 right now. Led by her daughter, and I think that and she's young. She's only in 9th grade, so eighth grade. So Aria is going to have to basically lead that team, from the ground up, and Raquel Curturillo is super strong for them. But Brooke Enders is probably their all-around best player. And Brooke, can control both ends of the field. She's a midfielder. And I think that, with that, I think Spencerport will make a run, will be there in the end. Because Tara's a good coach. She'll learn how to, she knows how to manage the game. And so I think that they're going to do well. Now on to, Victor. Victor is tough. Victor has, 95% of their kids are monster kids that play together every single day in the off season. Starting goal, Mia Finicario, going to Canisius. She's having a great season. I haven't watched Victor play yet, so I'm not sure what position all these kids are playing in. I just know who they are and where they're going. But defensively, Bryn Gotham, right? She's going to Michigan, and I know she's playing defense for them. Arguably the best defender in the county, if not in the state, in my opinion. And I guess Summer McDonald and Carlina DeFondi are also on that defense as well. Holding it down for Victor. Victor's tough in the midfield, led by probably the best midfielder in the area with Julia Bruno. Up there with, Julia's going to Pitt, Cameron Adrid going to Princeton. I don't even know who else is playing midfield for them. Allie Pisano, who's, just a sophomore, is not committed yet, but she's one of the top players in Section 5. She has been since she's been in 8th grade. So I think that you're going to see a lot out of Victor. Now, go down to the attack. You got Morgan Livingston playing attack. You got Maya Pronte, who's having an outstanding season, and I guess McKenna Anderson is who is a defender going to Arizona State, but she's playing attack for Victor. And you can't forget about Lila Kubrich at that midfield as well. Lila is going to be going to Yale, and Lila could be one of the best midfielders in Section 5, not the fastest one for sure. Olivia McKinnon is also starting on attack for them. Olivia McKinnon is a midfield at Monster, but she can play midfield or attack. Super athletic, going to University of Albany. And then you got Megan O'Brien, who's the first one off the bench that comes in. She's a 2028, a 9th grader, lefty attacker, comes in and fills some gaps for them too. So I think Victor is the favorite to win Section 5 for Class B. And but I think that, between Mercy and Pittsford, Brighton, and Irondequoit, there could be some upsets. There could be, we could make it a tough road for them. Speaking on Brighton, I didn't get to them yet, but they're led by Ireland Mastretta, and they definitely have some younger players that are playing for them, but coached by Wayne Smith, Ireland can definitely lead a team to victory. And I think you're going to see, a lot of the younger kids, pop up over there. Eva Holborough's out there on the attack for them. Adrian Zappia is playing some good minutes. Tatum Cook is playing big minutes for them. All young kids, all ninth graders. So big things to come for Brighton for sure. But I think that if Brighton's going to make a run, Ireland's the one that's going to have to pull them through the fire, which I think she can because she leads everyone in draw control. She's going to Syracuse next year. She's a tough kid, and I think she's going to be able to pull that off. Jumping down to Class C. Have to give Class C. Mercy moves out into Class B. Class C is all by itself with probably the top team is going to be... Right now, if you look at the top, well, they've all have similar schedules, except for Geneva. Geneva's 7-0 in Class C, but I think HFL will end up being the team. New coach, Kristen Bucka, took over for Kevin O'Connell. Another coach, Kevin O'Connell, who spent a long time coaching that team and building that team up, but I believed when the game got too fast and the shot clocks came in, I thought O'Connell would exit, and he did. But he's done a wonderful job building up that program, turns it over to Kristen Bucka, who has a good little team, but it's led by two players in particular. One, Shea Angelo going to Duke. Shea is a big lefty attacker, can score goals in bunches, great feeder, takes a draw, does it all. Shea is tough to manage. So any of the teams that got to play HFL are going to have to manage Shea Angelo. Harper Jacobs is a ninth grader. In my opinion, Harper is one of the top midfielders in the county, especially at her age. Small in nature, but this kid is a killer. She played varsity last year as an eighth grader, and she's making a tremendous impact this year as a midfielder for HFL. And then you got Sarah Smith on, also at midfield, right? Sarah Smith, is a good athletic midfielder. She's definitely going to put some balls in the goal. And I think you're going to, between those three, between Harper and Shea and Sarah, I think that's going to be, I think they're going to end up your Class C champs by far. And then Class D. Not going to go through all these teams in Class D, but I will tell you that the undisputed champ in Class D will be Penn Yan. Chris Hansen has done a phenomenal job with building this program. I remember when I was coach Canandaigua, and he just wanted a scrimmage, and we beat him pretty handedly. But he had all young kids, and his team's led by Bailey Cooper, who's going to Clemson, but Bailey, who's a phenomenal player and can definitely pull a team on her shoulders. The best thing about Penn Yan is their supporting cast. They have just a bunch of tough kids that are going to go out there and compete. Win or lose. Doesn't matter if they win by 20, lose by 20, or it's a tie game. Hansen's kids go out there and compete, and they've done it the right way. He's built it from the bottom up, and now he's going to, feel the joy of winning again. I know he won Class D last year. He's going to win it again this year, and I don't know if he can pull off a state championship against those Long Island teams, but he certainly should be commended on his tenure there because he hasn't had that group long. He started young, and he definitely is doing a great job with them. So. I don't think he's going to have too much competition in Class D. What he is doing is, he's playing all the top teams in the Class A, B, and C in Section 5 in order to get prepared. He's already played Penfield. He lost, right? He beat Brighton. They beat Brighton. Lost to West Genesee out of Section 3 by a goal. Went up to Massachusetts. Played Duxbury. Lost. Played Cohasset out of Long Island, lost. Played Hingham, won. Beat Canandaigua for the first time. They beat Canandaigua. Ithaca, they took a loss to Ithaca. That surprised me. I thought Penn Yan was better than Ithaca. But then they turned around and come up Section 5 Class B and beat Irondequoit. They took a loss to Mercy. They took a loss to Fairport. He's taken his bumps. But these are all against teams that are, 3 times the size of his school. So he knows what he's doing. He's doing this purposely. He's, taking his lumps. But when it comes to sectional time, Penn Yan will be victorious and they will go on to play in the state tournament. That's my prediction. Controversies in Section 5. You know how I like talking about the different controversies. I'm not sure there's a ton. However, with Pittsford moving to Class B leaves a big gap in the 4th team being competitive in the Class A tournament. That to me is a shame. They should figure that out. The athletic director's powers to be. The coaching changes, right? You got to ask yourself, do you really want to be a high school coach these days? I mean, let's be honest. I was there. I was a high school coach for 5 days or 5 years, excuse me. And would I ever go back to Section 5 lacrosse and be a coach? No, I wouldn't. I've passed that. It's to me, the biggest issue with scholastic sports is the athletic directors and the coaches. I think the athletic directors got to do a better job of finding coaches that can teach the game rather than finding coaches, finding the shop teacher that needs an extra $6,000 a year to go on their retirement and put them out there. I think women's lacrosse gets screwed because that wouldn't happen in basketball. That wouldn't happen in football. You would never take a coach with no experience and put him as the head coach of Aquinas football. It doesn't happen. So why does it happen with women's lacrosse? I don't know. I can't answer that. It seems to me, in my opinion, women's lacrosse in Section 5 specifically get screwed every single year. From the Section 5 tournament, not having the same accolades as the boys have, not having the same sponsorships as the boys have. There's just a big difference between girls lacrosse and boys lacrosse and every other sport, to be quite honest with you. That's the controversy right now in girls lacrosse is scholastic coaches. Finding the right coaches in order to teach the kids the right part of the game in order for them to go on to their next opportunity. And, unlike other sports, unlike football, unlike basketball, unlike soccer, girls lacrosse has 4 times the amount of kids going on to play college athletics than all those sports. If you look across the board at girls lacrosse, for example, just from Monster Lacrosse alone, we had 40 girls commit to colleges from the 2026 class. 40 commit to go play. And 90% of them, it is Division I. So no sport in Section 5 can even compete with that, yet alone these girls get the raw end of the deal every way you look at it. So if any athletic directors or coaches are out there listening, don't take it the wrong way. I'm not chastising you. All I'm telling you is you got to do better. The athletic directors in the districts, you got to do better in preparing these girls for the next level, because right now it's all being done by the clubs. The clubs are preparing these girls for the next level. We do everything for them. We do their training. We do their recruitment. Their placement, we do their training after they recruit. If you commit when you're a junior in high school, there's 2 years left before you get to your school, right? What are you doing for those kids in those 2 years to prepare them for their opportunity? And I'm not picking on any of the coaches at all. I'm just saying, get off your asses. Stop worrying about the $6,000 a year you make and start training the kids. I think that's only fair to these kids because they're giving you everything they got. Athletic directors the same way. Provide the coaches that are going to give the kids the opportunities to be successful. Just don't fill positions. But that's what I got to say about Section 5, ROC Stars Girls Lacrosse. That's my opinions, of course. We'll be back next week and throughout the season to update how the seasons are going, and we'll go from there. So signing off from ROC Stars Girls Lacrosse, MD3 LAX. McKenna Davis is not here today. She's got practice, but we're looking forward to her getting back on the microphone, and we'll get this updated soon. Have a good one.